evening and welcome to Power Brief on this day of the 12th day of the month of November, the year 2020. And tonight we do a special edition that is the State of the Nation. We look into what is happening on the past 1 month and even where we are and what is likely to happen in the month of November. And tonight we're joined by Mr. Billy Juma, who is a politician. We're also joined by Mr. Byron Oginga, who is a political scientist. Remember, this conversation is also live on our Facebook page, CAC TV Kenya, and our YouTube channel is CAC TV Kenya. My name is Cornelius Omuse, and I welcome you to join us in this discussion that will help us to unmask and bring out a number of issues that affect you and the way forward. Keep it on Power Brief. Gentlemen, welcome to Power Brief tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Bill, it's your first time to be here, and Mr. Byron has been here for some time. And briefly, we look into what is happening, the issue of the police brutality. A few days ago, we saw when the president came up with the new guidelines on the curfew and also the guidelines on combating the COVID-19 pandemic. But we are seeing like what happened on Thika Road, where the police stormed some entertainment joints at around 8:30 p.m. and you saw what happened even on our news, what we aired. And we want to see also here your brief analysis. Is it a curfew that they're trying to enforce or terror to the citizens? Beginning from Mr. Oginga.
Yes, first of all, I would like to say that that depicts the level of emotions within our within those we entrust with power, law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that if you see the extent to which the police brutality is taking, mm-hmm. First of all, I'll question, does the code of conduct within the police unit mm-hmm. changes when they are told to enforce the law? Mm-hmm. And are they trained enough to know that the code of conduct and how they should apply it varies from situation to situation? Mm-hmm. Number two, I will also ask, or I'll take this dimension of analysis. Mm-hmm. Police as an enforcer of the law should at no time use brutality or excessive force to implement the law. Mm-hmm. There are criteria mm-hmm. laid by the laws and even within their code of conduct mm-hmm. that this is how you should implement it. And in the event of this, mm-hmm. there is this best alternative options. Mm-hmm. But what we are also seeing is a manifestation of a frustrated public servants. Mm-hmm. They are very seriously frustrated.
By what maybe?
One, economic time, mm-hmm. by the unreliable economic times. Mm-hmm. And two, there's no surety for tomorrow. So when he sees an opportunity, he behaves as if that is last and only.
Let's see also from Mr. Billy his view on when the police are enforcing any guideline from the high authorities, the terror that is unleashed on the citizens, and what is likely causing this and how can it be avoided?
First of all, I'd like to strongly condemn police brutality. Mm-hmm. Because we have to be honest with ourselves as Kenyans. Mm-hmm. Police brutality has been going on for the longest time ever. Mm-hmm. True. Because if you may remember very well, during the first 10 days of lockdown, mm-hmm. what we saw in Mombasa and other parts of Kenya, mm-hmm. that was the worst or maybe the lowest that our police can sink into. Mm-hmm. It was very bad during those first 10 days of the curfew mm-hmm. early this year. Mm-hmm. I would also like to say, when we look at this issue of police brutality, we have to look at the roots cause. Because personally, I believe this is not a thing that has started with the curfew only. Mm-hmm. This is a thing that has a historical bearing.
True.
Mind you that our previous leaders, for example, the previous regimes, if you see the way they've been using the police, mm-hmm. first of all, they've been using the police as a repression tool, mm-hmm. an assassination tool, mm-hmm. from the previous regimes. Mm-hmm. And I think these are the things that the police have carried on, the police force mm-hmm. have carried these things up to now, what we are seeing at the moment. Mm-hmm. And in terms of the cause, I think when you're looking at the cause of all this, we have to be very, very specific. Mm-hmm. Personally, there are a few questions I would like to ask myself. Mm-hmm. Is it the training program of the police? Is it the recruitment model? we have to really look at the deep and root cause of these things. For me, I think these things, they do not stem out of, it is not a one-off thing. These things stem out of the recruitment and the recruitment and the way they've been taking people into the force. If you realize that there's a bit, ever since they take people to the force, you realize that there's always some aspect of corruption. So you can end up taking even people who are social misfits into the force. So on that, I can say that the problem of this police brutality is deep rooted. It is not something that is shallow, what we are seeing. If you have to get rid of this thing, we have to start at the structures.
Maybe to cut you short, and also Mr. Byron, if I give you an opportunity to say something, there is this notion that Kenyans or citizens, unless terror is unleashed during the first stages of enforcing a particular order, there is this belief that citizens will tend not to obey. Because Byron atauliza Billy, maze jana walitokea vile prezo alisema watu waingie kwa nyumba saa 3, alafu vile anamwambia mimi nimekaa hapo nimekula mtura yangu mpaka saa 5, and then Byron will tend to stay outside. There is that notion that citizens do not really are there unless terror is unleashed, and then from that onwards msee akiona anatoka mbio. I don't know what you had to say Byron before that.
That is a misconception, because we are law-abiding citizens, Mr. Monet. Yeah, and we know that sometimes, like even what happened in Mombasa that my friend has just mentioned, those people were within the constraints of the law. They were in the right direction. But we realize that the police just find an entry point. We realize that. So what I wanted to add on top of what my friend Juma said, is that it is high time the government should come up with programs within the police force targeting mental health. Mental health, and even programs of strengthening the professional code of conduct and ethics. Because when these things get out of hands, whatever person the police is brutalizing is a mother, is a father, or is a son who can be in this situation at any given day. Yes. So
Mr. Billy, what's your take on that notion that Byron has actually refuted? That Kenya lazima terror itolewe kwanza kidogo alafu sasa sheria ita flow smoothly.
I tend to agree with him to some point that it is a misconception.
So don't you think, before you continue, Byron, don't you think that there is a part that we as citizens, myself, you and Billy and any other person, we are not really amiable people who takes guidelines and regulations seriously to that point that it forces the police to unleash terror first before they begin now tuanze kufuatilia?
Comments, you see,
the role of the citizen, is it only a sword that cuts on one way, or there's a role that also citizens we have to play to ensure that moving forward there is no blame on the part of the citizens, there is no blame on the part of the police, because at the end of the day police will be here, citizens will be here, life will be here. Do we need to look at this thing only with one angle? I'm not defending the police, but there is that part also that way it is viewed, the citizens provoke the police.
Okay, to answer you, it is a double-edged sword. But the police have lost trust of the people. That is why you see all these things.
So should it continue to get lost, or there is a way, or there's something that can be done?
It is high time the police unit to come up with ways or within themselves structures that can help them regain public trust. Because the extent that we are going, us as the people, whatever we are told we have done, what are we failing? So it is them who are failing in execution of their duties. So when you lose my trust, I'll behave in a way that will show you really it doesn't matter.
So meaning that most citizens have lost the trust of the police, and also the vice versa. Could it be true that the police also do not trust the citizens?
I tend to say it is a double-edged sword, in the sense that also the citizens, at times, we've seen this with some Kenyans, they have to be chased out of the streets for them to go home. So on the part of the citizens, we need a mindset shift that I don't have to wait for the police to come and chase me from the bar or to tell me to go home. We should be also responsible citizens, so that we can also make the work of the police easy. Because if you stay out there in the streets, at times it can lead to a situation whereby the police have to use force. And also mind you that at times the citizens themselves, there are situations whereby they themselves have invoked the police to use force. So as Kenyans, we ought to have a mindset shift and also be responsible citizens. On the part of the police, when I look at these issues that police accountability, how are we as Kenyans ensuring police accountability? That if a police does something bad to a citizen, he or she will be held accountable to what he has done. If you see what is going on, probably with the IPOA, you know that is the Independent Police Oversight Authority. Their role is to ensure that police are accountable. But now, when you look at even the cases that the IPOA has followed up to the completion in terms of police brutality, there are very few cases.
Many thanks, gentlemen. Hoping that the police and also the citizens are actually following these things that you're bringing out, and implementation is another thing. Now, the second thing we are going to look at is the United States of America elections. We've seen what has happened for the past few months since the campaign, how President Donald Trump came out talking of fake news, and fake news generated into something else that we've just seen. The results have been projected by leading media houses outside there, because according to their programs, it is the media houses that does those projections, and so far so good. Biden's Jr. has been actually projected to be the winner of this election. But again, a head of state coming out talking of rigging, that is 1, 2. It's not only coming maybe from Zimbabwe or any other country nearby, I'll not mention names, but a country that has been described for ages to be the epitome, the mother of democracy, or the originator, the founders of democracy. So we really want to look deep into these elections of the United States of America, beginning from Mr. Biden, because most of the times I see you quoting John Quincy Adams, George Bush Sr. and Jr. about what it means about democracy. What do we have to get from the US elections?
It touches on a lot of issues, and one I must first of all congratulate President-elect Mr. Joe Biden, and I want to say that Trump just got what he deserved. So, taking lessons learned from US elections, we want to look at the 4 years era of Mr. Trump in terms of even his foreign policies. We had I think he was one of the US presidents who really didn't take into deep consideration his foreign relations. And 2, he was a president that many times, I think he was managing the state from his Twitter account.
That is that. On this matter of how the elections have been conducted, the tabulation of results and everything, these are head of state coming out, pointing out discrepancies in the whole process. A sitting head of state of that country. What we are really interested on Power Brief tonight is that which kind of picture it is bringing out.
I think, simply put, when your time is up, exit.
And that is that.
When your time is up.
Mr. Billy, maybe you could be having something else. Maybe Trump was your guy.
Now, first of all, I also like to congratulate the President-elect, Mr. Joe Biden, and the Deputy President-elect, Kamala Harris. I think when you look at Trump, there are things that you can expect of him. Many people, if you see analysts abroad, political analysts, they foresaw this situation whereby if he's defeated, he will try to cling on to power and bring all sorts of narratives to prove that the election was rigged. It was a plan that they had initially in the Republican. So I think for Mr. Trump, the best way I will summarize it in what President Bush said, former President George Bush said. He said that President Trump should and must concede because the people have spoken and the voice of people has been heard through their votes. The best thing for Trump to do, he must concede, and also he's painting a bad image of America because we've seen even Americans urging Kenyans, even in the previous elections, urging Kenyans, us, that we should be able to uphold democracy. Now, when we see a shining example of democracy in the world, America itself, in such a quagmire, then I think something is not adding up. So, Mr. Trump and the Republican Party, all of them, I think they need to allow Joe to move on with the transition process and other things.
So there is an admission from you that in one or another, whether President Trump's claims are valid or invalid, there is some sort of an effect on the perception of democracy from these growing democracies.
If you see what Trump has been saying, all of them are claims. All of them are claims. What we expect, or maybe what people expect, is that these claims should be able to be taken as lawsuits and evidence presented. You see, what Trump does is just make claims on Twitter and Facebook. The elections have been rigged. But for you to prove that, we need
Facts.
We need facts. We need evidence. We see a judicial process that is fair, and we'll be able to determine if the claims he's saying they are valid or not.
Let's hear whether you had something
I think
in summary before I post the last question on that topic.
Fine. I think the people of America, they have spoken, yes, but there were also prospects that Trump was going home. We had two serious investigations. One was from his advisor, one of his advisors, Mr. Michael Cohen.
Yes.
And from the confessions of Mr. Cohen, you could realize that the country was realizing the bad aspects of Trump, and even to the extent that he would not really just give power easily. And through the Mueller investigation also pointed Trump as a very dirty guy who is not fit for the White House. And if you look at all that, President Trump was a president that was surrounded with a series of scandals. From White House even to his business deals. You look at that. And that is a lesson to our African heads of states, that in due time is going to catch with them.
Now, lastly on that issue, let's go back briefly in history of the United States. Remember, Biden served under Obama and Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of State.
Yes.
There are claims that arose during the Arab Spring
Yes.
in Libya,
Yes.
in Egypt.
Yes.
You saw what happened, and there are those claims unsubstantiated. Even on this show, we are not saying that that is true, but those are the things that surrounded the administration of President Trump and the Democrats in general. That those people are having the fear of a repeat of such a things and aligning the Democrats to it. Those ones who view Democrats to be a warlike people.
And actually, you'll be able to realize during President Obama's time, when Biden was the vice president, what Trump is saying, and also the Republicans are saying, that when they think about Obama, they think of sending their when they think of Obama, they think of Afghanistan, of these missions that United States soldiers have been able to been doing in the overseas countries. So I wouldn't say that really it is they ought to be portrayed as war leaders, or maybe people who started war in foreign territories. But also what they were doing at that particular moment was to push anti-terrorism. There were cases of terrorism in the Northern Africa and also the Middle East. So during their time, they had different issues that they were dealing with at that particular point.
That's true.
Which are like of Trump's regime.
True.
You understand? So what Trump is trying to portray is that Obama was just sending people to war. Obama was just using the money for defense and other things, but which is not really the case, because at some particular point, even the world needed that peace. Yeah.
Many thanks. We'll take a quick commercial break. As we come back, we'll be looking into a number of issues, being one of it being the commuter trains into the CBD, the BBI recommendations from Council of Governors, and some of the way forward from our panelists. How can we recover from the COVID-19 pandemic after having a year within a year? Mr. Byron Oginga, political scientist, and also Mr. Billy Juma, who is a politician, are taking us through this State of the Nation, the November edition 2020. Keep it on CAC TV.
Life is a journey that requires a lot of preparation. Guys, are you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's buckle up. A lot can happen along the way.
But this is maybe Badia.
Guy, ni kama sijabeba your deal.
Now what will we do?
I think we won't go.
Yes, sir, because I can't find it.
But really, who is in charge of your journey? Beginning this Friday, Youth to Co presents The Journey from 8 to 9 p.m. only on CAC TV. See you there.
A tree begins as a seed.
A marriage is instituted.
You now embark on the work of watering it, cultivating it,
Creating legacies from one generation to the other.
That is what growing families takes.
And for powerful discussions on family as we answer questions, demystify myths, and touch on those controversial topics, tune in to CAC TV as we talk a whole lot more about family.
As we grow my family, grow your family, and grow our families.
Because a stable family is a stable society.
Join me, Faith Kaulu, together with Reverend Edward Karanja and Professor Catherine Gashuda on Transforming Families, right here at CAC TV.
Welcome back and many thanks for tuning in on CAC TV on Power Brief tonight as we do the State of the Nation, that is a November edition. And on the set we have Mr. Billy Juma, who is a politician, and also Mr. Byron Oginga, who is a political scientist. We are looking into the happenings for the past 1 month and even where we are as we project ending the year 2020, that many of the people call it a year within a year. And we have looked into a number of matters, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, the curfew regulations from the police service, the United States of America elections, and we are coming back with the introduction of the commuter trains at the CBD that was done 2 days ago by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Keep it on CAC TV. Gentlemen, before we went for a break, we want to introduce something. And this is the introduction of commuter trains into the Nairobi CBD. Nairobi has got so many names, Shamba la Mawe. And sometimes people say, unaweza kaa jam ya kilomita moja for 2 hours. Just 2 days ago, I left office at around, it was 5. And a distance of 2 kilometers, I took 2 hours because of the
jam.
The jam. And the president did something 2 days ago, an introduction of these commuter trains, and a number of people have been able to comment. The pessimists as usual and optimist people. I don't know whether you're pessimist or whether you're an optimistic person. Now we want to get your views over this introduction, what it means to the transport industry, especially in the city, the relevance, the convenience, the efficiency that's going to bring on board. Mr. Billy.
Personally, I really welcome that move by the president. If you realize, when you look all over the world, Nairobi is a city. When you look at the transport systems in cities worldwide, you realize that there's the commuter railway, there's the bus, BRT. So personally, I really welcome the move because Nairobians, we know how long it takes, how the amount of time we take in the traffic jam. This time can be put into other productive activities in the country. And it is the time, this is the time that Nairobi should be organized. And when I mean organized is in terms of the transport system. At the moment, you see, even when you're in CBD, you see matatus are parking all over. You see boda people are running all over the town, which is not supposed to be of Nairobi. So I really welcome the move by the president, and I believe going forward we should also be seeing this taken to other cities in Kenya, Mombasa and Kisumu, because this is what Kenyans have been looking for. Progressive Kenyans have been looking forward to this. So whoever is opposing such a move, I really don't understand why anybody will oppose such a move. Unless it's the cartels.
Let's hear also from Byron. We'll come back to you to tell us what these cartels.
Okay.
Byron, do you endorse it? What is your view on this? What efficiency is it going to bring about as far as transport within the CBD Nairobi is concerned?
I would say it is timely. It is timely if it is going to help us help solve or reduce the traffic jams. But on the other side, if it is going to, because we know the public transport in Nairobi is private owned, it is not government owned. If this initiative is going to inconvenience the other part of public transport system, then I think it calls also for harmonization and consultations.
Inconvenience in terms of...
maybe if it is projected that it is going to kill the private sector in public transport, then it is deadly. But if it is going to be harmonized, that it caters for public-private partnership and collaboration, then it is good.
Maybe we can look into what you're trying to bring as your concern, where you see the Kenya Railways is a parastatal. It's a government actually entity.
I'm trying to reason in regard to even when SGR came, it was a very good thing, and it is still a very good thing. But we want to look at the effects of SGR. So many people have lost jobs. So I'm trying to look at that because the matatu sector has really employed thousands of people within Nairobi. So if government is coming with an alternative mode of transport that is going to factor in or is going to help us address the menace of unemployment and not increase it, well and good. But again, it is not only Nairobi that needs commuter trains. And it is not only Kisumu and Mombasa cities which needs these commuter trains. We have 47 counties. All these 47 counties have devolved funds for transport. And I've seen counties organize themselves as regional blocks, ABCD. We want to see railway networks within these regions so that these things, because in projection, we want to see these counties transforming also into cities. So it is an idea that should be emulated by the regional blocks so that connections are made easy and even the infrastructure is uplifted beyond ordinary.
Many thanks, gentlemen. Now we move to another thing, and this is BBI, aka Reggae, or I don't know, Reggae, aka BBI, as it comes from the proponent or the main proponent of it. So we saw 2 days ago governors converging in Naivasha. That was that preceded after the Pasolis, Ledamo Lekina, and the group who came up and met Raila Odinga. And then they agreed that there will be some incorporation of some changes into that report. which they feel some of the things were not incorporated. Before we go and look deep into some of these things that the governor came up with, we really want to establish to our viewers and even to ourselves tonight here, when we go back to Bomas, when the president stood, he talked of having involved all and sundry. They took everyone through the process, how it began, how even the deputy president was involved, how everyone was involved. So I don't know, and Byron and Mr. Billy will help us, including myself here, to understand the things that are being brought right now. Were they brought forward during those times of consultation and they were ignored? Or it's when people went slept and then they woke up and realized, oh, kumbe, I need to put on glasses, so it has not been included and I have a condition that requires to put on glasses. Let's establish who is trying to maybe fool who in this entire process.
Okay. You've added some, you've called BBI reggae, some of your nicknames. Personally, I call it the third liberation. Yeah. BBI, I think every Kenyan, before we move on, every Kenyan should just take some time and read the document itself. Because what we are seeing in the country at the moment is that politicians are interpreting this document in their own sense and selling this to the public. I think the public, every person should take time and go through the document itself. The president, during the Bomas convention, when the BBI was launched, he said we incorporated views from everybody. On my part, I think the deputy president was being insincere to Kenyans, because the president said, I took 7 slots. Myself, I took 4. And then I gave Ruto 3. And Ruto, the deputy president, brought Major Say on board. So some of the narrative that is being sold out there, that some of the politicians were not included, I think is untrue. Because the president said it all, that we even divided this and we even gave our ODM leader some slots, and he brought people on board to bring their remarks. But now what is happening on the ground is that when you are looking at the document, even me myself, I've been looking at it, and I feel that amendments should be incorporated in this report. There are sensitive issues in the report that we really can't overlook. We really can't overlook these issues. So personally, even myself, I have a submission to make, because I feel that the governance structure is too expensive for the Kenyans.
Thank you, Billy. Now, let's get also Mr. Byron's view on this. So you want to tell us, Byron, that a whole respectable body like the Council of Governors wasn't taken through, was not involved during this process of collecting views? Because when you look at that report, the BBI report as it was launched at the Bomas of Kenya, it shows the whole procedure that was followed. If Byron was involved at a particular point in a particular town hall, they were involved. So you want to tell us that by then, did the Council of Governors present its views and then they were ignored? Or it's when, as I've just said, maybe someone slept and got a revelation to some of us who are believers?
Comments, BBI is a good document.
We'll come there whether it's good or not. But the focus here, we want to know.
The COG.
Yeah.
I think that is a political theatre. Because whatever they were presenting, they are major stakeholders in the document. Those what they are presenting now ought to have been factored in before. So we don't want this more confusion. To me, I see it as some people are not being sincere with us, and two, they are forcing us to buy the mob psychology that they want us to overlook some issues, which is wrong. Yes, I'm very objective about the document, but the governors themselves, unless they don't want to be more accountable to the funds.
Now, thank you. All of you have actually come up with a perception or a conclusion that something is not right somewhere, or someone is trying to actually fool someone somewhere. Now, let's look into a few of the recommendations that they brought about after having met for 2 days in Naivasha and establish whether it is indeed true that these people have put themselves first. One of the things that these people spoke We'll mention them one by one if time allows us. They talked of a reintroduction of assistant ministers. They talked of deputy ministers in government, in the national government, and then that they should be appointed from parliament. Now, devolution level, the county level, and then now they are recommending it to come from the national level, from the National Assembly. And one political analyst actually called me sometime yesterday at night and told me someone is eyeing retirement through member of parliament seat and then lobby for assistant minister. How is this related to devolution actually?
Colonel, let us take it even when President Uhuru took power, he introduced these Adono cars.
Is the CIS,
CIS,
Chief Administrative Secretary.
I don't see its relevance at all.
With the relevance, no problem. Now, my educate me, so I'm not a scientist. Okay, educate me a little bit, or educate our viewers to understand something here. How is the position of a deputy minister related to a governor? Because it came from the Council of Governors. Should the MPs bring this idea, or should it come from governors? That's why I want you to educate the viewers to understand where is this thing coming from.
This is how I see it. Because whatever happens, county has a delegated function. Yes? So if there's assistant ministers, which means even in the CC slots, they will have assistant CC members. And do you know what that means to the governors? They will have a wide base to bring in their supporters or those who stood them during campaigns. Majorly that is it. Or they will have a good window for reward. Simple.
Governors also came up with a proposal. I don't know, Billy, whether you buy the idea of someone talking of people looking for a smooth retirement path, and then a vice governor, then
I agree with my brother Byron, because when you look at the position of assistant ministers, even the CIS in the government at the moment, you realize that those people are just, there were people who failed elections. They failed elections and they were rewarded because you maybe campaigned for me, or you bought my narrative, or you supported my campaign. Those assistant that the assistant ministers that the Council of Governors is proposing, being honest with Kenyans, that proposal is not a good proposal. We need to do away with it.
And Colonel, just to add on whatever, if we look at the county structure right now, we have the CC member in charge of a sector, like the CC member for education. Under the CC member, there's a chief finance officer. After chief finance officer, we have a director. Very complete.
You've forgotten chief officer?
We have chief officer, then a director. Very complete structure. Very efficient. If you bring in assistant CC member, I don't think there's something.
Simply.
But again, let us look at what they want and what it means to us in the long run.
So
the consequences.
What does a citizen, me and you, stand to benefit when a position of a deputy minister is reintroduced? If at all these interest bodies or interest groups are talking on behalf of the citizens.
There's no way, honestly, there's no way Kenyans will benefit directly from such proposals. For me, I think it's just the way I'm looking at it from the angle of my brother Byron. These are smooth retirements. Let's just call things the way they are. These are just smooth retirements. People are looking for a way that even if they're out of office, they will manage to be called back and say, you are my friend, or maybe I just want you to be part of, just to reward you. And at this particular moment, I think Kenyans have more pressing issues that we don't need the rewarding of people in the country.
I think I think just in regard to what my brother said, whatever proposal they are bringing on board, they can be so good now, but tomorrow the consequences of our today will haunt us more. And two, we don't want politics into the BBI. We want leadership. Leadership in the sense that we are looking it beyond the self-interest, or you see, like right now, if they're going to vie for governor, or if I'm going to vie for governor, and I'm fighting so hard because I know I have a godfather, and through thick and thin I'm going to be there. I tell you, Musa, you see what? Be with me, this assistant, there's a slice of bread here for you. That is not, that is politics. But leadership will say, we have enough structures. Our only problem is to make them effective and efficient and deliver. In fact, the only problem in this country is service delivery. If we can have a blueprint of service delivery properly, everything goes down. Look at NMS.
So, people are amazed because they didn't hear anything like Council of Governors suggesting on matters to do maybe with the corruption. But something came up actually about gender. Let's look into it, and then lastly we look at the level of education.
How do you expect an INA?
So someone was talking of gender, and lawyers like Kiraitu.
Yes.
Lawyers are very, I don't know. He talked of may consider, may consider, or should consider, not must. He talked of it's not a must. So they might even allow it to pass, and then at the end of the day, you appoint someone and you refer there, may consider. When Byron, you ask me for something, maybe you tell me you want to come to power brief, and then I tell you, I will consider.
I wish to disagree with you, and even with the aspirations of those guys, of those governors. Right now, governors should tell us how they are going to strengthen systems of accountability in the trickling funds down to the devolved system. Gender issue.
They talked of how money should come to the counties.
Are they willing? Even right now, those who are accused of corruption, are they even willing? They are saying it is witch hunt, when it is true that money is stolen. I come from a county that the governor is facing a corruption charge to the tune of 2-point-something billion. And you want me to forget that? In fact, right now, as a people of this country, we should be concerned about accountability system in the devolved unit.
Because that's what let's try to even look at what they mentioned, even though they mentioned what majority maybe may not want to hear, like yourself and yourself.
We are already here.
How does this issue of gender again becomes a discussion, especially who appoints who to be the deputy? Because the BBI recommendation has it that if Billy is vying as a governor, then the running mate has to be of the opposite gender.
I agree to that.
I will not say a woman because I don't know your gender.
I agree to that.
I use assumption. But now, and vice versa, if the woman or if the woman is on vying for governor,
the other one has
then the other one has to be of the opposite gender.
Billy say something.
Yes, Billy, have something on that.
I agree to that. Because if you see in the recent months, you see everybody has been talking about the 2/3 gender rule. Actually, it has been a conversation to the point of even dissolving the parliament in just the recent months. So on the issue of having the deputy, your deputy, if you are aspiring for some seat, having your deputy as of the opposite gender, that is quite okay with me, because in this at this particular point in time, worldwide, everywhere, that is what people are pushing for: gender parity, issues of gender. So if the deputy has to be a lady or a man, that's quite okay.
Many things. Because of time, I'll have to give us some 30 seconds each. Byron, you'll have that time to say something as we wind up in your parting shot. The country has had a big share of a lot of issues, but one thing remains is the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of ravages have been done, a lot of damages, a lot of losses, people have lost jobs and everything. As we go towards the end of the year, na hii mambo ya reggae and BBI, your parting shot to the nation.
One, I'm going to, it doesn't matter, I don't need to be politically correct. And we consider ourselves, at least, we have the responsibility of educating others out there. The BBI is a good document, but it has come at the wrong time. Whereby even the state of the nation itself, we are weak, we are very vulnerable. And I'm witnessing a president in the history of this country who is a crybaby, outrightly in public, and whose even big four agenda are just going to be narratives or visions that were never attained. And just to say something on the COVID-19 pandemic, this is an issue which has even affected the US elections. In fact, if you want to look at one of the contributions why Trump went home, is how he handled the pandemic. But in this country where we have vast resources, realize even those trusted, those funds still have the guts to steal from us. That is a very big shame. And I want to say, and right now this country, why I'm saying it is vulnerable, we have seen the confidence of even investors is declining. An example, we see the Global Fund rejecting the budget for Kenya in health sector, which was meant to help in TB, HIV,
malaria,
because the whole process lacked transparency and accountability. You look at that, and that it should be a threat. My message, that in these new times, let us find and make good choices that can take this country to posterity.
Many things, Byron.
It is said somewhere that the destiny of a nation doesn't rely on the chances that it has, but it lies in the choices that we make as a people.
Thank you, brother. Billy, your parting shot as we come to the end of our special edition, that is the State of the Nation tonight.
I think COVID has to be, because we have to look at things the way they are. At this particular point, I think we are having the wrong conversations, because COVID now is ravaging even the economy, and people have lost jobs. There are people out there, people are suffering. Now, the discussion about BBI, I think this discussion could come at a much later time. The priority now should be how are we handling the COVID-19 pandemic? What measures are we trying to put in place to contain the situation? Secondly, also, I think as a country we have to be honest with ourselves. There are very many things that are going on at the moment. And something that maybe politicians are running away is the issue of corruption. This thing is very rampant everywhere. That's why you see, even my brother was saying that when a governor is taken to court, the governor starts to say this is political witch hunt. But us as Kenyans, we are demanding accountability. And that is the point that governors should be able to understand, even if, as they continue to fight on for their own proposals in the BBI. But accountability is what Kenyans want to see, because we are sick of seeing headlines in the newspaper, in TV, even money for pandemic. We had a recent story covered by NTV, whereby they said they are COVID-19 billionaires. And now Kenyans have lost trust in the system itself. Leaders should be able to be accountable. We should be able to be accountable to Kenyans. That's what many Kenyans are looking forward to.
Many thanks. Once in a while, each and every month, we do State of the Nation here on CAC TV on Power Brief. Our panelists tonight have taken us through these topics that we have handled. What is facing Kenya as a country and even at the global level, and has an effect to the African continent and the country of Kenya. Mr. Byron Oginga, who is a political scientist, and Mr. Billy Juma, who is also a politician and a scholar, have taken us through this debate tonight. We do this because we believe that your opinion matters, your voice matters, and that is our main purpose here on Power Brief. We appreciate your overwhelming responses on our social media platforms and also on our SMS number, which is 22167. From me, Cornelius Omuse, I wish you a very good night as we come to the end of the year 2020. God bless.